this is the second day of this weekend, Sunday. I went back and I actually found a lot of goodies. If you guys remember this from one of my previous finds, I believe it was either last week, maybe a couple weeks ago, Nintendo in 1985 Zapper. Even though we can't use this on our vintage NES because it's only works on tube TVs, and we, like everyone else, we all have flat screens. However, this same guy showed up today. It was a beautiful day, a little cool. All the vendors were out there, and what I didn't pick up last time, I finally picked up this time. He wanted $3 each. I got them for $5. Actually, I have two other sets, two that came with the Nintendo NES, and then two other sets that were a little bit more beat up. Those are going to be used for parts. So depending which one is the better looking one, or as far as aesthetics, I'm going to list the other pair and try to recoup some money. These are probably going for about $15 and up per pair on eBay, but I'm surprised these were still there. This was my first find. This is like literally 30 seconds after I got out of the car. This is my second find. I had to move the camera back for this. This is roughly about 15 feet from my last one of the Nintendo controllers. This is a vintage, I believe from what I can find online, 1930s. The lines kind of, I think, is a hint as far as that kind of Art Deco look. It's a Stanley number 36 24-inch level. The beauty about this one, it says besides the only nick here, it's all intact. The vials are still intact with the liquid inside of it. It has these covers that swivel over each vial to protect them. I believe that the earlier models, this mechanism was all in brass. Some of them didn't have the covers, some of them did. However, these look like to be nickel plating. This thing weighs a ton. I mean, what I've read online is that they're saying this is cast iron. It could be, however, it could be cast steel, but it's heavy. It feels like cast iron. It looks like somebody spray painted it blue or painted it blue on the ends for identification, but it's mostly that Japanning during that period, and then later on black. So this will be restored. The vials are removable. It'll be either buffed out or I'll nickel plate them again, reinstall everything. Unfortunately, I can't powder coat this because of the length, so most likely I'll just go with a kind of a satin or semi-gloss black for the side walls, and then the top will be just finished with bright steel. But this was nice. I mean, this is, I have a ton of levels, so this will be basically for displays along with some of my other vintage levels that I have probably earlier than this. This is one that I picked up at a swap meet about 2 years ago, and this is a machinist from LS Starrett, Athol, Massachusetts, I guess. This one is still in, I haven't tested or checked for accuracy on this, but this is still fully functional. It just has a one little ding there. Well, I guess it got dropped or hit. I can easily fix that. However, I just had this for display. All the vials are still there. I think this roughly was about $10. And here is a Starrett. No, this is not a Starrett. This is a Stanley. I believe this one's a Stanley. The vials are still intact. except for this one. I think this one's empty, but this is like a cast steel or very heavy steel, but I think this was roughly about the same price. However, this cast it has a crack here, and it's missing one of the decorative parts here. I guess it got dropped. It's basically useless. At some point in time, I may restore this. It won't be usable. It's just more for decorations, as a nice piece to look at and to have. But these three will be displayed on some wall when I get a chance. But I thought that this was a cool find as far as this Stanley one on the bottom. And this he was asking for 8. He was asking 10. I got it for 8. The funny thing about it, later on in the flea market, there was another guy with the same identical one, a little better shape, but same identical model and features. However, I knew that this guy usually likes to ask high. He doesn't like negotiating on his asking prices. So I was glad to pick this one. It's very rusted, but however, I think this will clean up once I take it through the media blaster, polish everything up as far as the top and the bottom, sanding it. I think this will really come out nice. Anybody interested, please let me know things that you see. If you want me to restore them first, I'll see what the popular votes are. But this will look very nice later. And still on that first aisle at the flea market, basically 50% of it was the first aisle, and the last 50% was in the last section towards the front. I came across these. I recognized these from the Scout Crafter channel. These are Bernard pliers. They're parallel pliers. The jaws on these are always closed. They're always closed or open parallel to each other, so you always get a firm grip. I think these things are great. Many times I've needed to hold apart, and with traditional pliers, it always pinches on the top or somewhere along the interface, and then the part would either swivel, especially if we're trying to work on the belt sander or grinder with it. I saw these on the table. This one is a Bernard style. It's Bernard and Company, New Haven, Connecticut. I don't see a made in the USA. I don't see a model number, but it's stamped on both sides. It has owner's name in there, Norman Rosenberg. It's pretty interesting. These are in great condition. They're just dirty, and again, this looks like a nickel plating on these. The cutter, these also have a cutter. Some of them didn't have a cutter. I think the later models, I'll have to do my homework on that. A cutter was added. This one needs a little touch up on it. It will cut. It's just a little stiffer. It could be because of the fact that all of this needs to be cleaned out and oiled. Here's a smaller set, and these are a little smoother, and these cut a little better. Again, these are dirty, need to be cleaned up and oiled and in service. Then I saw these Sargent also. However, I don't know, these are very stiff and they're a little been used a little. This needs clean up, oiling. However, it has an interesting jaw on there that I'll have to figure out what that's for. It must be a specialty tools. These will be resold. This is what kind of caught my eye. First, I didn't know what it was until I saw the end of it, the tang or the shank. This goes into a bit and brace. This is an extension. I have to pretty much put it in the frame here, and it has 2 jaws to grab the bit that you're using, or a screwdriver bit if you have one, or an auger bit. This needs to be oiled because it won't open up right now. But what I like about it is that this is a Miller Falls product. It's a number 35 Miller Falls company, Greenfield, Massachusetts, with a patent number of 175826, made in the US. But this I thought was the cat's pajamas on this one. So I asked him what he wanted. He wanted 10. He wouldn't take 8, but I got it all for $9. So it's roughly about, $2, what, 25 cents a piece. That's the way I look at things when I buy them in a lot. So like I said, all of these except this one's is a keeper, and this one will be resold. But this is within just 15 minutes of me walking into the flea market. Matter of fact, I had to take this and the previous 2 items back to the truck for me to begin again. This 4th lot here, this is towards the front of the flea market, towards the end. I didn't find anything in the middle. This guy, I bought some stuff yesterday from my previous video. However, there was this toolbox sitting on the side next to his trailer, and I started digging through it. I found a lot of junk, but again, I found out I've been lucking out with Pliers, tools lately. These are both identical model numbers. These are slip joint pliers, 350/66 6-inch pliers. However, this is vintage 1910, 1920, based on the diamond pattern grip with the diamond shape there, and it has a kind of integrated screwdriver. This is the only damage on this thing. Nickel plating finish on this one. It's a little loose. It has the integrated cutter in there, and otherwise it's still in good condition. Teeth are okay. These are a little beat up on the curved part, but they can be fixed with a file. And then this one here is the same model, 356/6 6-inch. The cutter on this is different. It's more like the modern style cutter. I really don't like these style of wire cutters in here. And this, because of it lacks any embellishing here. This is definitely mid 1940s to 1950s. This one's in good condition, and this would have been probably a black oxide finish on this. So one of these will go. I will probably refinish both of them. This one definitely in a nickel plating. This one will probably be polished like some of my other ones. Belt sander, then the Scotch-Brite wheel, and I'll call it a day. So one of these will go to recoup some of my money. But here's, in my previous video, this is one I found in that same area. This is a 356/8 and this one is pretty interesting. It has a three position joint mechanism that can be locked in at 3 different positions depending on the width of the item you want to grip. Again, this is probably mid 1940s. So, and then I think I mentioned yesterday I picked one of these up, a 356 5.5. These are probably mid 1950s. So I've got a 5.5, a 6, and an 8 so far, which is a big coincidence or just good luck. Like I said, one of these two will go. I'm not sure which one. Even though I do really like the grips as far as the early versions, and the the next generation, which was the 1920, 1930s, that had the more Art Deco look. And by the way, I got this set. I thought they were going to hit me hard, like $2 or $3. And the guy asked me, "Where'd you get it from?" I says, "Oh, that little toolbox on the side." "Oh, it's everything in there is $1." I said, here you go, $2. Can't go wrong with that. This is my fourth lot of finds for that day on Sunday. First two items here are not vintage tools or items, however I couldn't pass them up. They're two toggle clamps, brand new, never used, from a company, Good Hand Toggle Clamp. They're out of Taiwan. They sell a lot of different formats of toggles. However, these are now going for about $17 each online. They have a capacity of 750 pounds per toggle. He wanted $5 on each one of these, and he was firm. And yeah, I picked up on the same table yet another Kreuter. I must be up to like number, I don't know, 15 as far as Kreuters here. This is a Kreuter, a very later model. It's a 4700-7 for the 7-inch length. These are diagonal cutters. Based on the information I found online, this was Kreuter's K-Diamond line of economic tools, or economy tools. These were based largely on their popular styles with simpler finishes for a lower price. So these were as early as 1939, this one, to mid 50s or 1950s for this particular model. You can tell by the side, by the finish on the side, and it was painted black, that the finishes on this was basically to save money and to lower the prices for the economy lines. They're still in good condition. The cutters are good. They cut with no issues. This entire lot, $10. Again, $2 for this Kreuter. Funny thing is, I mentioned in a previous video that I had picked up, I believe it was this 45015. I forgot that I had, no, it was a 45045, and I forgot that I had a 45015. So I have a 4.5, 5, and now a 7. It would be a big coincidence if I can find a 6 or maybe an 8 if they do make one. But I'm pretty much covered. This will replace some of my other vintage or newer vintage Craftsmans, like these. These are USA made along with this, but I really don't like the fit and finish on these, the way these feel. These get really grungy after decades of use, and I never did like this professional set handles. They never felt right. And here's another one that I picked up at it was either a yard sale, I believe, many years ago. So I'll get rid of those. The only other good pair I have, which I use, is these Klein pliers, Klein diagonal cutters. These I will keep because they're excellent. This is the last lot, and I say lot because there are two pieces to this lot. And I am wondering, based on my previous videos, not another hand drill. Yes, another hand drill. I'm up to number 5 now. One of them is going to be for sale. This was the last table towards the end there. I had purchased some Kreuter pliers from this guy the week before, the Saturday before, and he didn't have this at that time. I picked this up. This is a Miller's Falls number 2 hand drill, and I picked it up because it was in really good condition. It looks like it was kept indoors, somewhat conditioned environment, because it just has just a little surface rust, normal wear and tear. This does have, 8 drill bits included that are not rusted at all. They just looks like they've been used. Maybe some light rust on one or two. This one is fully functional. This particular one I was able to date, this number 2, they had different versions of this, probably about 10 to 12 different versions from 1894 all the way up to 1957. However, this particular one is dated between 1938 and 1957 based on some of the features that are on here as far as different types of knobs, specifics about the casting here, the fact that this has 2 pinions here. So either way, he was asking $10 for this. I thought it was a little pricey. This is roughly about 60 to 80 years old. Now, from the previous finds that you guys have seen, I picked this up in early September. I was able to identify this now as a Miller's Falls number 2 between 1929 and 1930, maybe possibly 1931. However, the issue with this one is that the handle, or this part of the handle, was replaced at a certain point in its life. You can see the marks here where it went into a vise to bend it. It's loose and it has a curve here, and it's supposed to be more of kind of right angles, like, you know, this one here. So between the 1930 model and 1931, there was the green field was added. So because that information is missing now, this can be between 1929 to possibly 1931. So this makes this roughly about 90 years old, and it's still working. And I plan to restore this and fix this or replace this handle to match this one here, and get there's a little roller. It was called a friction roller, and it was replaced in 1938 by the pinion gear that you see here on this one. So I got those two. I have Stanley and yet another Stanley, and I have another one like this, a newer one like this. That's the one that's going to go up for sale, but right now I have 4. I plan to keep them all, restore them, and even though we'll use them, most likely they'll be just put up for display. Now, I mentioned earlier that there was 2 pieces to this lot. Last week I had edited out of the video about this other item that I was really excited about. That Saturday I had picked up, like I said earlier, some Kreuter pliers, and I saw this item on the table and I looked at it and I said, yeah, that's nice. And when I left, I had regrets on not buying it, because it was a one-of-a-kind piece, and I knew I would never possibly come across it. The next following day, that Sunday, I went back. It was raining. He was inside the overhang, didn't have all the tools out because a lot of the rain was coming on his table. I asked him about the item, and he said he sold it. I said, oh, well, you know, easy come, easy go. You know, when I was there this Sunday, and he was the last table I was hitting on my way out to my truck, I saw the item there, and I grabbed it immediately, held on to it while I looked at the rest of the table, and I picked up that Miller's Falls hand drill. This is the item. I'm hoping I get it in screen. This is what I saw. This is a Miller's Falls number 24 hacksaw. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, wooden handle, the blade, and this was used in a machine shop because it says machine. Somebody inscribed machine shop on the sides here and on the back. But this is Miller's Falls Company, number 24, Greenfield, Massachusetts, and it uses a standard 12-inch blade, and it has a roughly a 10-inch depth of cut. I thought that this thing was the cat's pajamas. I mean, to come across something like this. I don't even think they make anything like this anymore, because obviously we're going to use power tools. But I can imagine somebody in that period of time using this, because this is used to cut something that deep. You know, maybe not a heavy gauged item, but I just found this amazing. It has no damage at all. Everything is still fully functional as far as the parts down here. The only wear that it has is the handle, just right here, I guess from decades of use and grabbing, but the handle is still in pristine condition with nothing broken or missing. The original finish is on there. This has some light rust, and again it's inscribed there, machine shop. Most likely I will leave that on there. I will bring this down to bare metal, repaint it, refinish the handle, pop a new blade in. Will I use it? I don't know. I do use a lot of hacksaws, but however, I thought this was great. He was asking $10 for this. I was going to take it for the $10. However, he then said, because I was very interested in the Miller's Falls hand brace, he said, I'll let you have that for $7. So $17, no questions asked. I couldn't get the money out fast enough. But however, this made my day. Anyhow, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's kind of lengthy on these videos, but I try to include a brief history and some backstory, just to make it interesting. And when I'm trying to show you that, you know, go to these places, yard sales, auctions, you know, open estate sales, flea markets, and if you guys are interested in vintage tools or vintage items, you know, do your homework first, or at least take your phone. That's what I do, is I do a lot of research on my phone as I'm standing there to see if it's worth my while, if it's worth the asking price. However, you can't beat some of these items for $1 or $2. $7 for an item here that's, you know, roughly 60 to 80 years old. The other one was like 90. This one, you know, could be about 75 years old. I'm not sure of yet. But thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the video, and I'll see you on the next one.